The Honourable Member for Calgary-Fish Creek, followed by Calgary-McKay-Nose Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Among the $250 million in AHS contracts are $600,000 of executive coaching fees. Over half of these dollars went to a recently departed AHS VP. We have another document that shows a sole source contract worth $250,000 was handed to this individual the day after she left the job with AHS. According to your policy, sole sourcing shall only be permitted when there is a legitimate need, typically when an unforeseeable situation of urgency exists. Can the minister tell us how an executive coaching contract could ever be considered an urgent priority?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, with respect to the news release that was blurted out, so to speak, by the opposition shortly before question period, I'm not at all sure that the facts represented in that release are correct, Mr. Speaker. So I have already been in contact with the official administrator of Alberta Health Services to determine that. But, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is right. There are actually rules and processes, including an internal audit function, that oversee the transactions that take place in AHS with respect to consultants and other procurement, just as there is in government. As Minister, I expect those to be followed. We presume that they are followed, Mr. Speaker.
First supplemental.
Well, first of all, they're FOIP documents, so let's just talk about your processes. Given that AHS policy states all sole source consultant engagements valued at greater than $25,000 will periodically be reviewed by senior executives to evaluate compliance with this policy, can the minister assure Albertans and table evidence that this policy was followed in that case?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we discussed this issue yesterday. It is very easy for any member of this House to stand up to loosely connect facts, whether or not they were acquired through FOIP, and to attempt to lead or mislead, as the case may be, people to a conclusion that may or may not be correct. In this instance, Mr. Speaker, there are clear processes within Alberta Health Services, including an Audit and Finance Committee that includes representation from the Office of the Auditor General that is charged with overseeing these sorts of transactions. I cannot say, Mr. Speaker, with respect to this specific transaction, exactly what oversight was exercised, but, Mr. Speaker, we...
Thank you. Honourable Member, final supplemental.
I'll tell you, it's not me that's misleading the House, Mr. Speaker. Given that AHS policy forbids consulting contracts for salaried employees, and given that this individual received a contract the day after leaving AHS, how can Albertans believe that the $250,000 untendered executive coaching contract was anything but a deliberate attempt to reward a senior official and with taxpayer dollars?
Well, Mr. Speaker, obviously the honourable member has no regard for the reputation of this individual who received this contract, or perhaps anyone else. And that wouldn't be surprising, Mr. Speaker, because this kind of negativity, cynicism and personal attack is exactly what we've observed from across the aisle for the last 2.5 years. But what I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, is that we do take the rules and procedures that we have seriously. We set up oversight mechanisms. We hold people to account, including in this case the official administrator of Alberta Health Services. We presume compliance, and when there is not compliance, Mr. Speaker, we take appropriate action.